Hey, in this video I am going to walk through my spring maintenance check for my Tab 400 up here in Wisconsin. You have to store your camper in winter, most of us do, so there's a whole routine you have to go through to get that thing ready for the camping season. So if you're new to camping and you're not sure what to do in the spring, or you just want a refresher, this video might be just right for you. I'm going to go through standard maintenance things like checking the electrical, the plumbing system, the heating system, a little bit of routine maintenance, basically just making sure that the camper is ready to go and there's nothing I need to worry about and have big surprises when I get out to that first camping trip. So right after I got it out of storage, I took it to my dealer. I did have the Aldi system flushed and drained. Luckily, there was no sign of corrosion anywhere. And I had them check the brake pads and rotate the tires and repack the wheel bearings. But what I'm going to do now is some testing. So I did have the battery turned off and I did do some monitoring to make sure that the status was okay, and it was. But now what I'm going to do is go on the inside and I'm going to check out some of the electronics. Just make sure that, now that it's out of storage, that everything is working. I guess I could have put that chair up, or that stair up. So really the first thing I'm going to do is do a simple electrical system check, not in depth, just to make sure that there's power going to all of my electrical appliances, my lights, my heat system. Make sure that turns on at least, my air conditioning system right there. Again, just checking to make sure that there's power to those things. So whether it's the microwave or the refrigerator, the TV, radio, and water pump, I'm really just checking to make sure that there is power to those pieces of equipment. I'm also checking in all of these cubby holes when I'm in them for any sign of wetness, water, mice droppings, anything of that nature as well. Luckily, I didn't find anything. I also, at this point, removed the water filter and washed that out. Finally, I turned on the water pump on my control panel and I simply listened to see that it was getting power. I'll test it later. So my next step in the process is actually just to de-winterize the lines by removing the antifreeze fluid that I put in the winter before. I do this by hooking up to city water. In other words, I hooked my hose up. I'm not using my pump at this point in time. And I'm simply draining all of that fluid out of the hot and the cold water lines separately. Don't forget that they are two separate lines, so you'll have to do both. This is also a really good time to check under the sink for any leaks. In fact, it's a really good time to check your entire system for leaks when you have city water hooked up. Make sure, by the way, that you're not putting more than 50 pounds of pressure on your lines when you use city water. Remember to do all of your water faucets when you do this, your bathroom sink, your shower, your toilet, and any outside hose that you might have as well. From here you can get the antifreeze out of your gray tank and your black tank. Be careful, it can spill, but don't worry, there was nothing icky in the black tank. And lastly, open up the valve to your freshwater tank and drain the rest of that out as well. The facet of de-winterizing is to fill the freshwater tank with water and put in a 1/4 cup of bleach for 30 gallons. Let it sit for at least 8 hours to sanitize your freshwater tank. So what you don't want to do is actually walk away and not pay any attention to this and forget that the water is filling up, because once it gets to 30 gallons, it will backflush out of the receptacle. However, it also puts more pressure on your lines. I blew out a gasket on my sink faucet and had to replace it as a result of not paying attention to the water going into the freshwater tank. Now I'm going to check the propane burners. Simply have turned on the propane. You can see that I've got plenty of propane in here, and now I'm just going to check the burners. All right, let's see. We can get that propane through the line. I can hear it coming in. Let's see if we can start this puppy. It might take a little bit. First time through. All right. Come on, baby. That's light. Come on. There we go. All right, we got a good flame there. Let's try this one. Oh, that one lit right up. Propane tanks, a propane stove, good to go. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do for today, folks, is a battery and heat system check. I am charging, or I am cooling rather, my refrigerator solely on battery power. That means that I'm drawing power. Now, so far the solar seems to be keeping up with that, but overnight, obviously, when solar is not available, that will draw down the battery. I want to see how far that battery drawdown takes the charge state, because the batteries are pretty old and I want to make sure they're okay. In addition to that, I'm going to check the Aldi heat system to make sure that that's running properly. So I'm going to turn on the heat system, wait for the menu to pop up. All right, there's the menu, got it set to 68. I'm going to use propane, so it's already set on propane. So that's really all I have to do tonight, and we'll see if the Aldi system kicks in and heats the camper when it gets cold. So this morning I'm going to check on the camper. I'm going to check two things. One, did the Aldi heat system keep the camper warm? It's about 47 degrees out. And two, what's the status of my batteries? So let's go in and check it out. Don't know if you can see that, but it is 70 degrees in here according to that thermometer. The Aldi temperature says 69. So excellent. Aldi's working. So far, so good with the de-winterization. So I've checked out all the electrical works. The battery is holding a charge. I'm surprised it's 6 years old. This is going to the 6th season. It stayed out all winter in a indoor storage shed, but unheated. No trickle charge whatsoever, and they're still charging up and holding a charge. Next thing on the list is to check the water pump and run some of the water through that has bleach in it through the lines to sanitize the lines, then drain that and clean that all out, and then plug into shore power and check the air conditioning unit. And then assuming that works, it's all good and I'm ready to go. All right, I do hear water running through. I did check all the connections. The connections seem good. I changed the water, or I cleaned the water filter yesterday. That seems good. Again, no water is visible anywhere in this area, so things look good. So I'm just going to give that pump some time to run. Seems like it's getting up to pressure, and maybe it just took a little bit more time than I recall. It took about 8 or 9 minutes, but ultimately the system did come up to pressure, and so the water system checks out with no leaks. All right, so the last thing to check in here is the Dometic heat system. This can be a little finicky, I found. So the first thing you do is you have to cycle through and get it to the right cycle, which is cool. I've got it set at 70. So hopefully the fan should kick in any minute now. The fan kicked in and quickly started to cool the RV. I did not test the Dometic heat system at this point. On the inside of my camper, I always check all of the screws. Remember, these are square driver bits that you'll need, because that's what campers typically use for their cabinetry and other things. Don't let them fall down the drain. I spray all my gaskets every spring with rubber seal conditioner so that the gaskets stay supple, don't crack and leak. Check your frame stress point for cracks. Look to see that your brake wire is secure, and also check your air pressure tire, including the spare tire. Hey, I hope you found that useful. Those are all the things I did. I'm now ready to go on my first camping trip. Stay tuned for that video. I'm going to Hartman Creek State Park in Wisconsin. See you there.